Welcome to Voodoo Whiskey Gaming, and this is my late review of the Avengers beta. So I guess it's almost a preview. I played it on the PS4, the beta is not yet out on the Xbox, but it will be, I believe, this upcoming weekend, and I think there will be an open beta on the PS4 this upcoming weekend. So let's get into the story. It starts out on what is called A-Day, which is basically a celebration of the Avengers, or at least at the beginning of it, and then, well, we've all seen some trailers and whatnot, shit really goes sideways. And in the beta, you don't really find out what the cause of that catastrophe is, but you do find out that it releases the Terrigen Mist, which, creates Inhumans. Due to this catastrophe, though, the Avengers are, banned. They're basically made illegal to form up and be the Avengers, but unfortunately for, the world, the Avengers are once again needed, and you begin playing as Kamala Khan and Bruce Banner. You don't really play as him, he's in cutscenes, you play as the Hulk when you get to. But they're trying to reassemble the Avengers. Now, what else happens in the story? I have no idea because, they only give you a limited amount because, like most betas, it was really more of a demo. Let's get into the audio. The music and sound effects, excellent. I think they're really good. I obviously want to hear more, and I think they will probably be slightly cleaner in the actual release. But let's get to the voiceover work, which is really good. There's a lot of top-name talent in this. I think a lot of people may just have issues at first with the fact that this isn't the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not Chris Evans. It's not, Scarlett Johansson. So it's a little different. Different in this case is not bad. We're talking Troy Baker, Nolan North, Laura Bailey, the holy trinity of video game voice acting. Let's get into the gameplay mechanics and whatnot, and it's definitely not what I was expecting when I went into it. Because once you get past that first mission, which is basically an introduction to the Avengers and their different play styles, it becomes a very mission-based game where you operate from a hub. But even further beyond that, it's very much a co-op game, which I guess I hadn't really seen anything about that. So when you start a mission, you can invite your friends, or you can basically do matchmaking and play with a bunch of randoms if you want to. And if you don't want to play with randoms, you just want to play on your own, you can assign characters to come with you and they will be controlled by AIs. And I will say the AI was not phenomenal, but nor was it terrible. They did actually help you quite a bit in combat, so I'm okay with that. There are a bunch of other RPG elements in this. You will upgrade skills, you will gain gear. The one thing that I found disappointing was that the gear doesn't affect your appearance. It does affect your stats, your strength, your health, things like that, but I think it would have been cooler had it affected your appearance like, some other superhero games have done. It's more or less a brawler. There are some shooting elements in it. Characters do have ranged attacks, and I think it all works well. I actually liked it, and the characters, they don't feel wildly unique, but each one does feel unique. And I will say the one that stood out to me the most, especially in the opening level, was the Hulk. You really felt like, the Hulk, because when he's running through the street, cars are just being knocked out of his way, and it was really well done, and I liked that. And in that opening mission, out of the characters, he just felt the most unique, although I do feel like there are a few other things that didn't function quite as well in that mission. Which, let's get into that, being the controls. Aiming in that first mission just felt like shit, and it felt like they were just throwing a little bit too much at you with each of the characters. But again, the aiming was just a little wonky. I feel like it was better later on in the actual missions. Maybe that's just me, maybe I just got used to it, I'm not really sure. But I will say overall, I like the controls. I think they're simple, and each one for each character works similarly, but they each have their own unique abilities, and controlling them all works well, and using their abilities works fairly well. Some of them have abilities that are a little too timed, and you have to take the time to aim, but you don't necessarily always have the time you need, and that's, that's more of a game design issue, but it affects the controls. But as far as camera control, movement, and the responsiveness of the melee, I think it all works very well. I was actually impressed with it. Let's get into the graphics. Now the graphics, that first opening cutscene, man, it looked kind of shitty. I'm not gonna lie, it just did not look good. You could see every fucking pixel in the outline of all the characters in that cutscene. It was not pretty. Once you start playing, it actually looks considerably better, and the later cutscenes in the beta looked much better. I don't know why that is. I think that's a little weird, but hey, it's what happened. That being said, I do feel like all the characters look a little more generic, which does fit with the comic books, I would say. You know, after over a decade of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we all have this idea of what these characters look like, but we forget that in the comic books, you know, some of them are a little more generic looking. That being said, I do think they actually looked good. I did like the design of the Hulk. I liked the way every one of the characters looked. And I liked the way some of them, like their powers translated. I think they did a good job translating that visually, especially with a character like Kamala Khan. I mentioned it a bit earlier, I wish the different gear that you got and equipped had a more visual effect. I think it was disappointing from a visual standpoint. Not that I feel like the character designs themselves, you know, Iron Man's armor, Kamala's outfit, any of them, I don't think it looked bad. I just think that would have been a cool element. There are costumes that you can unlock. I don't think you could unlock them in the beta. At least I didn't successfully unlock anything in the beta, but you can clearly tell there are going to be costumes down the line because there's literally a section for it in the menu. I think the world looks good. I didn't get to explore as much of it as I would like because, once again, more of a demo, so there is a limit to how far you can go in the world and where you can go. But it looks like there's going to be a good amount of content, so you will get to see more of the world. So to wrap this up, I can't really recommend buying the full game or not, as this was a beta/demo, but I can say that I am more excited for it now than I was prior to playing the beta. Quite frankly, Avengers, while it looked intriguing to me and I was optimistic about it, it just felt like something was lacking there, but now that I have played it, I realize that we didn't really understand the gameplay and what they were going for. But having now experienced it, I'm much more excited to actually play this game and then also see where the story will go. So I had a good time with the beta, I am more excited, and that's what matters with it. This is one of the few times where I feel like the beta actually got me more interested in the game than I already was. Okay, so in the comments down below, why don't you tell me which of the Avengers is your favorite? Specifically, which of the Avengers that's going to be in the game. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button, and if you like what I'm doing in general, share, subscribe. Have a good one. Grown used to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.